Hey there, this is FMA Chat here, welcoming you to a first for my channel. Now before anyone asks, no, this avatar does not represent what I look like in real life. For I do what Star Wars Explained and Eckhart's Ladder do on an occasional basis, and that's make a Star Wars video. Or in this case, a speculation/timeline video. I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time. Well, actually, in the early 90s, I've actually watched the Star Wars TV show Ewoks, which led me to my first and currently favorite Star Wars movie, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Like everyone, I've seen The Rise of Skywalker. I enjoyed the film, and personally I thought it was a good end to the Skywalker saga. But I do understand that the film has its flaws, one of them being the return of Emperor Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious. There wasn't much explanation about how Palpatine came back, except from Beaumont's statements, quote, "Dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew." I can understand that raises a lot more questions than answers some. Until the release of the Rise of Skywalker novelization, I can understand why people believe that the sequel trilogy is poorly structured, not having been pre-planned from the beginning. But I discovered in recent Star Wars media from Disney, more noticeably the novels, that there have been bits and pieces that give off hints to what Palpatine had in mind. A contingency, if you could call it. Thus, the subject of this video. What I put together from knowledge of the novels and from Wikipedia is a speculation timeline video about how Palpatine orchestrated this contingency plan from before the events of Return of the Jedi, leading all the way to the Rise of Skywalker, to help explain, in my point of view, Palpatine's plan to retake the galaxy. Just to point out to anyone, if anyone notices any botches in dialogue, etc., well, that's me correcting any mistakes I've made during recordings. Nobody's perfect. But before we start on the speculation/timeline video, let's take a look back at how Palpatine rose to power. A summarized prologue, if you could call it, explaining how Palpatine plotted from the shadows to sitting on his throne as Emperor of the Galaxy.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times. Before the Empire.
Darth Sidious, publicly known as Chief Palpatine, was secret apprentice of the Sith Lord, Darth Plagueis. Plotting to seize control of the galaxy and destroy the Jedi Order, Sidious orchestrated the invasion of Naboo so that he would take the position of Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic. Moving to the next phase of his plan, Sidious orders Darth Tyrannus, publicly known as Count Dooku, to arrange the death of Jedi Master Sidious and secretly take control of a clone army he had commissioned while Dooku arranges the formation of a separatist movement, known as the Confederacy of Independent Systems, leading up with both the Republic and Separatists fighting against each other in warfare, thus beginning the Clone Wars. Seducing Anakin to the dark side with the promise of saving his wife Padme Amidala, with the knowledge he acquired from the Sith Master that he himself killed, Sidious orders Anakin, now known as Darth Vader, to lead an attack on the Jedi Temple while the Dark Lord issues a command to all clone troopers, triggering their inhibitor chips to execute Order 66, killing a majority of Jedi throughout the galaxy and thus ending the Jedi Order. While Vader is sent to Mustafar to eliminate the Separatist leadership, Palpatine transitions the Republic into the First Galactic Empire and declares himself Emperor of the Galaxy. Padme dies giving birth to Luke and Leia Skywalker while Sidious informs Vader about the death of his wife and child. Dismembered after his duel with Obi-Wan and forced to wear a biomechanical suit, Vader takes up his role as apprentice to Sidious, an enforcer to the Empire. And there you have it. Now that we've seen how Palpatine rose to power, let's move on to the main subject. In order to understand Palpatine's contingency, we must start long before the age of the Empire, even before the Clone Wars, on the planet Jakku.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Advisor to Emperor Palpatine, Yup Tashu said that Palpatine believed that the power of the dark side originated somewhere within the unknown regions. His advisors built laboratories and communication stations around the edges of the galaxy, while Yup himself oversaw construction of one of the observatories on the planet Jakku, sometime after being elected Chancellor of the Republic. An orphan named Galley discovered the excavation site of the future Jakku Observatory and stowed away on Palpatine's Republic luxury yacht, the Imperialis. Palpatine senses the boy's presence and offers him two choices, to die or to serve him as his protege. Galley takes the latter option and is sent back to Jakku to guard the excavation site. After the observatory was completed, Palpatine met with Galley, explaining the purpose of the contingency by using the game Shatiz as an analogy. If the king is defeated, the game is lost no matter what pieces is left. That if Palpatine were to die, the Empire would die with him for failing to prevent his death. Satisfied with Galley's service and potential, Palpatine tasked Galley with executing the contingency. During his education and military training, Galley chose to adopt the name Gallius Rex. After the rise of the Empire, information of the unknown regions was gained by various teams, beacons, and probe droids that Palpatine sent to scout, but many of them failed to return, yet slowly uncovering a safe route. Sometime later, Palpatine was introduced to Mithra Neurodo, commonly known as Thrawn, a Chiss originating from the Chiss ascendancy on the planet Sicela, located within the unknown regions. Brought by Captain Voss of the Venator Star Destroyer Strikefast, Thrawn informed Palpatine of mysterious threats in the unknown regions, offering his information in exchange for the Empire's help. Palpatine accepted Thrawn's information, in exchange that the Empire offered him a role in the Imperial Navy instead, which Thrawn accepted. Thrawn charted out the unknown regions, but kept his homeworld Sicela secret from Palpatine. The information that was given then was utilized by computers within the Jakku Observatory. Darth Sidious was convinced that a dark presence was calling to him through the Force, some origin of the Force, some dark presence formed of malevolent substance, a signal that Palpatine could only hear while his enforcer Darth Vader could not. Call it speculation, but I believe that dark presence calling to Palpatine to be the Sith world Exegol. It would be safe to assume that by using Thrawn's knowledge of the unknown regions, Sidious traveled to Exegol, discovering and assuming leadership of a secret cult of the Sith, devoting to beliefs in Sith ideals, further laying out the foundations of the contingency. He leaves a Sith wayfinder to Darth Vader, leaving it in his fortress on Mustafar, while Darth Sidious himself kept his wayfinder kept in storage within his command tower on the unfinished second Death Star, orbiting the forest moon of Endor. Shortly before the Battle of Endor, Gallius Rex was summoned to the Emperor's throne room aboard the half-completed second Death Star. His visit had coincided with the Rebel strike team landing on the Sanctuary Moon. Palpatine sensed a shadow point approaching, instructing Rex to move the Executive-class Star Dreadnought, the Ravager, to the Vulpinus Nebula until the events of the shadow point had been resolved. The shadow point which Palpatine sensed unfolded as the Battle of Endor. The amassed fleet of the Alliance to restore the Republic that had gathered at Sullust made an attempted assault on the seemingly defenseless second Death Star, unaware that the shield protecting it wasn't as deactivated as hoped. Any gained knowledge of the Imperial fleet lying in wait was erased by Ian Versio of Infernal Squad, and by the time the realization dawned on the unknowing Rebel Alliance, it was too late. The battle saw the Rebel fleet trapped between the Imperial Armada and the half-finished Death Star, which the latter was revealed to be fully operational on the part of Emperor Palpatine. Forced to take drastic action, the Rebel fleet took the fight to the Imperial Armada. The battle raged on until not only witnessed the death of Emperor Palpatine, the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, but the destruction of various Imperial Star Destroyers, as well as the loss of the Executive-class Star Dreadnought, the Executor. The final blow came with the destruction of the second Death Star, prompting Vice Admiral Sloane to withdraw all forces from the battle, giving the Rebel Alliance the victory. While the galaxy believed the Emperor to have perished at the Battle of Endor, Darth Sidious, due to his training by his master Darth Plagueis, called upon the Force and transferred his spirit into the unknown regions, already being prepared for Anakin's betrayal. The spirit of the Emperor ventured to the Sith world of Exegol, entering an imperfect clone body of himself that he had created before the Battle of Endor. There he remained on the desolate world, leading the mysterious Sith cult while the contingency he had long laid out was being executed in the known galaxy. Informed by a red-robed messenger droid of Palpatine's death, Gallius Rex rose to the rank of Fleet Admiral, setting about to fulfill the contingency, claiming to Imperial comrades that he was working to build a stronger, more efficient empire. Knowing that there were those whose loyalty to the Empire was wavered to no place within the new Empire, Rex took on the codename The Operator, feeding intelligence to the newly formed fledgling New Republic in order to undermine the Empire, forcing Grand Vizier Masamita to serve as a figurehead in Rex's regime, and having newly appointed Grand Admiral Ray Sloane as its public head. Using a number of the red-robed messenger droids, Palpatine instructed various officers and military commanders of the Contingency to retaliate against the rebellion with recorded messages. Rex executed the Contingency with Operation Cinder, scouring worlds across the galaxy, both loyal to the Empire and the Republic. Naboo and Vardos, to name a few, ravaged by electrical storms and extreme weather events by climate disruption array satellites. Various battles took place in the events of the Contingency, such as the Siege of Arcanus, the Battle for Kual Drive Yards, and the liberation of Kashyyyk. Becoming suspicious of Gallius Rex, Ray Sloane traveled to Coruscant to uncover information, discovering records of not only a number of missing fleets, but also the disappearance of Palpatine's flagship, the Executor-class Star Dreadnought, the Eclipse. The Contingency reached further heights when Grand Admiral Ray Sloane, with the approval of Gallius Rex, arranged peace talks with the Republic on Chandrila. But it was nothing but a ruse for Rex's planned attack. Rescued prisoners from Ashem's lock on Kashyyyk involuntarily attacked New Republic officials due to controller chips installed by orders from Gallius Rex and activated by his agent, Wyndham Trade Usa. Ray Sloane, disgusted by the events orchestrated by Rex, attempted to return and punish the fleet admiral, but forced to flee when she was framed for the events and ordered to be captured. Believing Sloane to have perished on Chandrila, Rex assumed the position of counselor to the Empire and rallied the remaining Imperial forces to Jakku, including the missing fleets listed from the archives on Coruscant. In public, Counselor Rex claimed he brought the Imperial Remnant to Jakku in order to toughen and harden them for the final showdown with the New Republic, but in reality it was to purposely demoralize them and test the limits of their sanity, wanting his soldiers to crack under the intense pressure. The final battle of the Galactic Civil War began when the New Republic fleet engaged the Imperial Remnant above the planet's orbit, before the conflict became planet-bound as well. The battle resulted in the loss of the Imperial Remnant's central piece of their strategy, the Executor-class Star Dreadnought, the Ravager. Due to mistakes by mentally and physically exhausted fleet officials, Rex retreated to the observatory to initiate the final phase, to activate various ancient Sith artifacts previously poured into the core of the planet by a borehole excavated before the observation's completion. The energy from the artifacts would have destabilized and break the planet apart, destroying both the armies of the New Republic and Imperial Remnant that currently battled. Seeking revenge for removing her from power and for tearing down the empire she loved, Ray Sloane prevented Rex from carrying it out, killing him. In his dying words, Rex instructed Sloane to venture with Brendel Hux and the other chosen leaders into the unknown regions. Using a replica of Emperor Palpatine's luxury yacht, Sloane retreated with Brendel and Armitage Hux. Meanwhile, several of the other leaders, including Enric Pride, having lost his Imperial Star Destroyer, the Steadfast, retreated into the unknown regions as well. With their victory over the Imperial Remnant, Masamita signed the Galactic Concordance with Chancellor Mon Mothma, felicitating the Empire's surrender to the New Republic and ending the Galactic Civil War. With civilian functionalities including Masamita allowing to return to the core worlds under the stipulations of the Concordance, banning the recruitment and mobilization of stormtroopers, the abandonment of the galactic-wide network of Imperial academies, the surrender of Coruscant to the New Republic, and the confinement of the remaining Imperial Navy to predetermined boundaries in the core and in the rim. New Republic Empire capital ships would be governed as well. Imperial officers were to be treated as war criminals, some of them refusing to surrender retreated to the unknown regions. Ray Sloane, Brendel, and Armitage Hux, along with a selected few, rendezvoused on the Emperor's missing flagship, the Eclipse, and plotted to resurrect the Empire. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as I enjoyed making it. On the next part of the speculation/timeline subject, we'll be taking a look at how Palpatine and the remnants of the Empire made preparations for the events of The Force Awakens, and so on. Until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.